the Zoom call. Okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Cafe Olay, or welcome to Cafe Olay if this is your first time. My name is Jay Rosen. I am a volunteer with Nefesh B'Nefesh. I myself made Aliyah with them a week short of 15 years. Actually, it'll be 15 years next session, which is still very surreal. Here at Cafe Olay, we go over the everyday Hebrew that you need here in Israel for everyday life and to set you up for success, understanding that you may not have learned the everyday Hebrew here, like how to pay bills or the ingredients on a recipe or the nutritional value on an ingredient on a item that you're buying in the supermarket, or how to lodge a complaint, or how to read the news, or all sorts of other things, right? So here we go over all the everyday Hebrew that you may or may not have learned in Ulpan, let alone in day school, yeshiva, high school, university, here in Israel, wherever it may be. We have a lot of people on the call, which is amazing. So this is a bit more frontal perhaps than you're used to in other classes. Hopefully after the holiday season, we'll be able to meet in person. We're actually going to take a break at the end of this month for the Chagim, for the holidays. I like calling it the holiday season to appropriate that from a certain other culture. And we'll reconvene. There's a very popular expression in Israel called Acharei Chagim. It literally means after the holidays. And it's a way to not only mark time to say that we'll meet after all the fall holidays, but also it's sort of a way to not procrastinate, but certainly to say, oh, we'll take care of it in due time. So we will be meeting Acharei Chagim. Excited for that, but in the meantime, we're here through the end of the month here of August 2021. For those of you who are brand new, we're going to go through a topic today. I have some words prepared for you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the topic shortly. If you have any questions about the topic that we're going through today specifically, please write it in the Q&A box. You'll see that on your Zoom menu bar. There's Q&A and there's chat. If you have a question about today's topic, as I'm explaining and sharing it, please write that in the Q&A. If you have a question, a comment, a criticism, whatever it may be, that's not related to today's session, please keep that in the chat. There's one of me and there's usually more than 100 of you. So please be kind, and I'll be able to get through most of your questions in the Q&A. Everything else, including suggestions for upcoming classes, please write that in the chat. We try to make this as user-friendly and user-focused as possible. So a lot of what we cover here at Cafe Olay is proposed by you, what topics you want us to cover that you may not be prepared to do in Hebrew, may not have learned, can't find the resource in English appropriately. We'd be happy to cover it here. Also, you'll be able to get a recording of this session and all previous sessions on Nefesh B'Nefesh's YouTube channel. Simply go to youtube.com, type in Nefesh B'Nefesh or even Cafe Olay, and you'll see all of our previous sessions. This one will come up in the next day or two up there. So as I said, today's topic is a one that was requested by you, the participants. This is about the post office. Now, normally we don't cover a specific entity, organization in Israel because we try to cover general categories, right? So instead of going, how do I make an appointment with my Kupat Cholim, my HMO, Instead, we do how do you understand automated menus, right? Instead of talking about how to pay a specific bill, we talk about all the other words together, right? So instead, what we're going to do today is we're going to go over the post office, because the post office in Israel, as opposed to most other Western focused countries, is antiquated to say the least. There are many jokes in multiple languages about Israel Post, and you would be 100% correct in saying all of them. You are definitely not an anti-Semite to make fun of Israel Post. It is one of the worst public services in Israel, so much so it is ridiculed by native Israelis for decades. There's currently a process to privatize it, if not have it being taken over by another entity. And in the meantime, there are many more alternatives to send and receive mail and packages than there ever have been before in Israel as a result of how bad the service is. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through together a live simulation of how do I make an appointment at the post office. Just to back up a bit, the post office has been around just like in other countries for a long time, even before the state of Israel existed. The post office was really important for a long time in Israel because it's more than just sending and receiving mail. It was a place where you could pay your bills, any utility bill, any tax bill you could pay there. You could send and receive money. So Western Union is often based in Israel Post offices. You could buy all sorts of other things, certainly packages, certainly bills, money. So if you were going abroad, not just to wire money, but also to exchange money. So it was also a currency converter. A lot of different things take place at the post office. But it has not caught up with the 21st century, let alone the past 20th century. But what it has done is in the course of the last year and a half, because of the pandemic, it has allowed for making appointments in advance. It used to be you showed up at the post office, you got a number, and you had to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Not just because it's incredibly slow, but because there were lots of other people there doing all sorts of different things. Now it's automated. They highly recommend that you sign up in advance to make an appointment before you arrive. And that's what we're going to go through today. The basic words that you need to understand what happens at the Israel Post, and all the different things that go on there and what's most relevant to you. But then we're going to go together and make an appointment together. So as always, I'm going to share my screen shortly. We're going to go through some of the major vocabulary, and then we're going to go through actually making an appointment together. So if you can't keep up, or if you can't do screenshotting, or if you can't do old school pen and paper, remember there will be a recording of this session on YouTube. You can go back. I just saw someone complained about how fast I was talking. I'll try to talk slower, but that means you can also go back to youtube.com, watch this multiple times, rewind, fast forward, slow down the speed of my talking, so you'll be able to watch anything you would like and watch this on repeat. So if you need to make an appointment to go to the post office, you'll be able to do that together. So let me share my screen and let's get learning. So before we get to the actual simulation, I want to go through some of the major words that you're going to see. First off, the word for mail, right? M-A-I-L, or post for some of you in in English-speaking countries, is doar or doar, depending on how you pronounce the letter resh. Okay, it's our first word, doar. Doar only refers to what we would otherwise call as snail mail, right? Mail that comes by post, mail that comes by someone delivering the mail. Okay, that could be a letter, that could be a package, that could be a document, anything that is physically sent. It is not email. In fact, we call email in Hebrew doar elektroni, electric mail, just like we say in English, email is short for electric mail. But doar is the name for all forms of mail. Doar Israel is the official name of the Israel Postal Agency, Post Agency, Post Company. We simply just call it Israel Post in English. Okay. One of the most important things I talked about just now was not just sending and receiving letters and packages and paying bills. Often you'll get official documents or official letters that come to you through the mail. One example are tax documents. Another example are bills that are outstanding, right? So if you have not paid your arnona, which is the municipal tax wherever you live in Israel, you'll often get a letter in the doar, in the mail, that comes in doar rashum. Rashum is our next word. Rashum can mean listed. It's a participle, but in our case, it means registered mail, right? The difference between everyday mail and registered mail, just like in other countries, in Israel, it's the same. Doar rashum comes with a number. We're going to see what that, how to find that and track that in a bit when we go to the website. But this is for anything that requires a signature, whether it's a package or the other party that sent you the mail wants to confirm that you received it. That's especially true for bills or documents or packages that require a signature, come from doar rashum. Okay, so that's an important difference between regular mail and doar rashum. Snif. Snif is the word that we use for a branch or an outlet, not an outlet as in sales, but outlet as in a outlet of a company. Snif is simply a branch, right? A doar will have many snifim. So snif hadoar is the local post office. Okay, snif, branch, doar, mail, you put those two together, snif, doar, you get your post office. That's how we would translate post office into Hebrew. And there are many, obviously, around the country, depending on the size of the town or city you're at, how many there are. What's also important about snif hadoar, snifei hadoar, which is the plural, snifei hadoar, is that because of how inept the process is right now to get doar rashum, to get registered mail, also packages and so forth, oftentimes Doar Yisrael, Israel Post, will outsource the service of picking up packages to other places. Those of you who are in Israel and have gotten a receipt recently for Doar Rashum, it's usually a receipt that looks like this. It comes in your Tahadoar, your mailbox. It's a red and pink slip, and it'll say on it your name, and it'll say what's coming to you, who's the sender, and then it'll tell you where to pick it up. And oftentimes, most recently, it won't be your nearest snif hadoar. It won't be the local post office. It'll instead be a store or a storefront that has outsourced part of its floor space to Israel Post, right? So for example, I got a letter from the tax authority because I'm self-employed. And it was sent not to my snif hadoar, which is on a street called Mikveh Yisrael. It was sent to the street called Hashmonaim. And on Hashmonaim, there's a Max stock store. It's sort of like a Family Dollar store. Those of you who are American, you know the reference. But like in every kind of little knick-knack kind of store, tchotchke store. There's a good Hebrew word, right? Not so much. And in their basement, they set up a little outpost of Doar Yisrael, of the Israel Post. You come with your slip, because it says to go to that address, and they'll give you your package or your letter or whatever was sent to you by Doar Rashum, by registered mail. It's much more efficient because that's the only service they're doing, right? They're not exchanging money. They're not having you pay bills. They're not doing anything else that a regular post office does. It's simply receive packages that came through Doar Rashum. Very efficient when you can get that. Okay. Who delivers the mail in Israel? The word for a mail carrier or a postal worker, whichever term you want to use that's gender neutral. We no longer say postman or mailman because there's also post women and mail women, but we just say mail carrier, easier enough, is davar, or davar for male, and daverit for a woman. Okay, davar, daverit is a mail carrier. In Israel, this is a bit of a culture shock for some of you, certainly those of you, my fellow Americans. Mail carriers, davarim, do not come up in uniform, do not wear medim. Medim is the Hebrew word for uniform. They do not wear a uniform when delivering mail. So you'll see with someone dressed rather regularly, even more, certainly more regularly than I am. They don't even have to wear a collared shirt. They can wear a t-shirt. They'll come with one of those shopping carts, like the grandma's cart that you take to the shuk or to the store here. A cloth, bag on wheels. It's usually red. And they're delivering the mail. They're putting the mail in the ta'e doar, in the mailboxes, and leaving. Aside from that, you would have no idea that they're a mail carrier because they don't have to wear a uniform. When you go to a snif doar, when you go to a post office, you'll see that the workers also are not wearing uniforms. So that can be a bit jarring at first, but it's a very, one of the most important, not important, but one of the most stark differences between the mail in Israel and other countries. And then this word. This word is probably the number one word that trips up fellow Olim when they are going to the snif door. When you have to go to the post office to do something, even before this automated system where you can make reservations in advance, when you would go to snif door, you would be asked to take a number, then you would be asked, what do you want to do? And there's a myriad of options, and we'll go through some of them shortly when we go to the website. But one of them would be for Eshnav Kol. Okay, and people would get really freaked out because what is this word? I've never seen this word before. I've never heard of it before. Eshnav. Eshnav actually already appears in the Bible, in the Tanakh. We have a couple different psukim, verses that have this word Eshnav. Eshnav is best translated as a service window, or you could think of it as a teller window. Meaning it's not a chalon. Chalon is our everyday word for window in Hebrew, chalon. But a chalon looks outwards, right? A chalon is on a wall, an exterior wall, meaning that a chalon is separating us with the outside world. Eshnav, on the other hand, is within an enclosed space. It's within a building, within a home, within an office. Okay, so when you're going to door, snifa door, when you're going to the post office or you're going to the bank or anywhere else where you have to interface with someone through a window, right, with the little slat at the bottom where you usually pass things through, that's called an eshnav. Okay, so now you have one of the most important words under your belts when it comes to hador in Israel, when it comes to the mail or to the post, eshnav. Eshnav is the teller window. It's the person who's going to help you at the post office when you need to do something. Okay, and now let's go through some verbs and then let's make an appointment together. So you're going to see two different verbs that often get translated the same into English, but they mean slightly different things. The first one is limsor. Limsor or limsor means to deliver. Okay, so if I need to deliver something to someone, if I need something delivered to me, this is the verb you're going to use, limsor. Whereas to send is lishloach. Now, you've probably heard lishloach before, and you'll probably say, well, Jay, what's the difference between the two? The difference between these two is the same difference in English between to deliver and to send. We have two different verbs in Hebrew as well, right? Limsor, to deliver, lishloach, to send. Very important difference between the two. But you'll see as we go through the website for Doar Yisrael through the Israel Post, you'll see they often use deliver. They'll use limsor more than lishloach, right? Because usually you're the one sending, either delivering something to someone else or they're the one sending to you. We'll see the difference in a minute. Another very important one, in general, when we're making appointments, or especially when we're asking for something to be sent to us by courier, by delivery, or sending to someone else, is this verb, le'ater, or le'ater. Le'ater means to locate. Okay, le'ater is the infinitive. Itur is the gerund, it's the verbal noun. It's locating. It's the equivalent in English of locating. And then the last word you probably know already is atar. Atar is a location. It's also a site, right? So we call atar internet a website. We use the same word, a location, but it's also a site, right? So atar internet, atar tayruti, a tourist site, right? Anything like that. We have the same, we use the same shoresh. Shoresh is a root, like that grows in the ground. All Hebrew words are created from a shoresh, a three-letter root, sometimes two or four, but usually three. In this case, it's aleph, taf, resh. And from that, those three letters in that very specific order, we get the words for to locate, locating, location, or site. You're going to see why that's important very shortly. And then the last one, we did this a few weeks ago when we talked about making appointments, right? And automated menus is lizimun tor. Lizimun tor gets translated as for making an appointment, right? Whenever you are looking for a service to help you make an appointment, this is what you're going to look for or you're going to listen to. Lizimun tor. Okay, you're not going to look for anything else. This doesn't translate directly into English, but that's fine because we're talking about Hebrew here. Lizimun tol means for making an appointment. We're using the gerund rather than the infinitive. So it's for making an appointment, press 1 would be an automated version, but you're also going to see that written. Okay, so with that, let's start doing a appointment. So let me open that up again. Sorry, just 1 minute. Get that ready for us. There it is. Okay. Share screen. Okay, here we are at israelpost.co.il. Israelpost.co.il is Doal Yisrael, is the Israel Post. This is what you're going to get to when you get on this website. Now, let's go through some things together. Yes, at the top left, you see here, it does give you some options for languages. We're going to stick with Hebrew, not just because you showed up for Cafe Oleh, but chances are the English is not going to be great. Trust me, if the services of Doal Yisrael are of any guidance in Hebrew, ipso facto, or as we say in Hebrew, kal v'chomer, it's going to be just as bad in English. So better we stick with Hebrew. Okay. You see here, it's got all sorts of things. First off, another service that Doal Yisrael has, as you see here right on the right-hand side, is Bank HaDoal. The Doal Yisrael, the Israel Post, also has a bank that's attached to it. Okay, but it also has other services. It allows you, as it says here, Kartisim Hanit Anim Shel Bank HaDoal. You can buy refillable cards at the Israel Post. For example, if you're going abroad and you want to give yourself or a family member, or maybe you have a teenager here at home, you want to start having a card to use, you can do a refillable debit card. And you can buy that from Doal Yisrael instead of opening up a bank account, right? You just put a set money on it. You can top it up as you wish. This is what we're going to do. Tor ba-click. Tor, we just said, was appointment. Click is click. Anyone who's been to the Doal Yisrael before, to Israel Post, knows this this scene very well, even though it's animated here. It's drawn rather, of this little machine that gives you an appointment. It gives you a number, and then you wait in line for it to be called on the big screen, but there's also a voice in the overhead that tells you your number and which window to go to, right? What we're going to do today is we're going to make an appointment, like I said. Now, if you scroll down, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options. These are the 5 main options people go to the Snif HaDoal for, the post office for. The one on the far right, because we read from right to left in Hebrew, is the one we're going to do today together. Itur Snif v'zimun tor. Itur Snif, we just said what Itur was, right? Locating. Snif is a branch. V'zimun tor, making an appointment. You now know what the most popular service at Snif HaDoal is and how to read it and which one to pick, right? Finding a post office and making an appointment is the first one on your right. The next one, Ma'akav Mishluchim. Ma'akav is best translated as oversight or follow-up or follow-through. Mishluchim are deliveries. right? So if you have something being delivered to you through Doal Yisrael, you would click on this, put in the barcode number that was assigned to your delivery, and you would be able to track where it is and its status. Itur Mikud. This is a very important one. Itur Mikud. Itur, we just said, was locating. Mikud. Mikud is the Hebrew word for a zip code. In Israel, about several years ago, they reformed the zip codes. They no longer were 5 digits. I think they're now 8 digits. And everyone got a few more digits attached to their number, which no one can remember. 5 digits we can remember, or 9-digit Tudat Zahut we can remember, but 8 digits was just weird. So instead, there are multiple websites, including Doal Yisrael, that allow you to simply put in your address, your ktovet. Ktovet is the word for address in Hebrew. You type it in, and it will give you your zip code. And that's obviously important for deliveries, for mailing addresses, for if you're buying something online, for example, whether it's being delivered to you or not, but the billing information, you're gonna need your mikud, your zip code. Okay, so that's this third option here. Fourth one here is mechiron hadoal. Mechiron, the first word comes from the word mechir or mechir, which means price. Mechiron is a price list, right? You can think of it almost as a menu, but in this case, it's a pricing list of hadoal, of the mail, right? So depending if you want to send something by regular mail or doal rashum, if you want to send something in 24 hours, if you want to send something through DHL, whatever it may be, this is going to give you a breakdown of all the different costs and prices at Doal Yisrael. Okay, this fourth one. And then the fifth one, achavilot sheli, right? My packages. So if something is being sent to you or you're sending something, you can track it through this red option here. We're going to focus again on itur snif v'zimun tol, the very first one on the right. And I'm going to show you how to do this. Again, this is all going to be recorded up and be available on Nefesh B'Nefesh's website. So if you don't catch everything as I'm doing it, don't worry. You'll be able to watch the recording and do it as you're making your own appointment in the future, or you can just follow along right now. Okay, I'm going to click on that. And now you see it opened up to Itur Snifim V'Zimun Tol Baklik, this top red bar, right? Locating branches. Snifim is the plural of snif. V'zimun tol beklik. Zimun tol, we just said, was making an appointment. Beklik, in a click, in one click. Okay, we have 3 options up here. Itur yechidot doal umerkazei mesira. Locating post offices and centers of sending off of delivery, right? Meaning places that distribute the mail or collect mail. This is what it's talking about here, to find one that does this, meaning a post office. The next one, if you wanted that, was itur tevot doar lefi shuvim, locating PO boxes according to where you live in the country. And then the last one, itur yeshuvim b'doar na. This is a different service. We're not going to get to this today, but just know that the first 2 are usually going to be the most relevant. And this is the first one that we're going to do. Most of what you're going to need to do as Olim by choice, as Westerners in Israel, is going to be this first choice that's already picked for you, finding a post office. Now, it says, I already did this ahead of time, so it says I already have a visit coming up, but I think we're going to do this together live. So what you would do here is the following. You would type in where you're from. In this case, I live in Tel Aviv. And obviously, you're going to do this in Hebrew, right? So Tel Aviv. And then I get a whole bunch of options for Tel Aviv, right? And it's going to give me here a bunch of different information. First off, it's going to give me the name of the branch, right? Next to each number is the name of the branch. We're going to go with this one, Mikveh Yisrael. That's the name of the branch. Its number is 401. Okay. It then gives me the address, Mikveh Yisrael Sheva. Okay, so I know that it's on Mikveh Yisrael Street, number 7. And then I can see what other services it has. It says that it has courier service, I believe that's what that is, as well as handicap service. But I can look and find other ones, right? There's one on Dizengoff, there's one on Derech HaShalom, if I need it, more, I could find it simply by typing in, again, where I live here, but it could be another city, Yerushalayim, Modi'in, Ra'anana, and so forth. Okay, it's telling me right now it's closed because it is 8:30 here in Israel, so post offices are not usually open that late. And then it's going to tell me Lizimun Tol, right? To make an appointment. So if I want to show up at this branch, as I said at the beginning of this lesson, it's important to make an appointment in advance. Even if it's just to pick up a piece of mail, trust me, you are saving yourself a lot of time and aggravation by making an appointment in advance. So I'm going to click on the Zimun Tol, right? Zimun Tol, making an appointment. Mikveh Israel, I want to go to this branch. Mikveh Israel Sheva. And then it says, right, you can see first off, there's a bar here with 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that there's going to be 4 steps, making it really easy for us. Bachar et hashirut haratzui. That's what it says here. Choose the desired service. Bachar is the command form of livchor, to choose. Shirut is service, and ratzui is desired. It comes from the same root as rotze, want. Ratzui is desired. So choose the desired service, and you have 2 options here. Eshnav kol, mesirat doar lalakoach. We said Eshnav before was the service window, right? Kol means everything. This is the teller, right? This is the person who's going to help you with pretty much everything you need to do. Paying bills, picking up a registered mail, buying stamps, whatever it may be, exchanging money, whatever it may be. Mesirat doar lelakoach is exactly that, delivering mail to a customer. This is usually what's done by a company that needs to send something through the mail, i.e. this is not the majority of you, right? 9.9 times out of 10, when you're offered these 2 options and only these 2 options because you are making an appointment in advance, you are not going to the post office first, you are first going to israelpost.co.il, right? You are going to pick the one on the right, Shnav Kol. Okay, so I click on it and then I click Hamshech. Hamshech comes on the bottom left, means comes from the verb lahamshich, to continue. This is the command, so continue. Right, now I'm already at number 2. 2 out of 4 already about to be completed. Bechar tarich usha. Bechar, choose. Ta'arich, date. Sha'a, time. Literally means hour, but here we're talking about a time. Right, so now I have to choose what day I want to show up. It gives me 3 options because it's not going so far in advance. So tomorrow, the day after that, and the day after that. So let's say today is Monday the 9th. So let's pick the 11th. And remember, in Hebrew and in Israel, like most countries around the world, with the exception of the United States and a few other places, dates go day, month, year. Okay, think smallest unit to biggest unit. Day, month, year. Okay, so 11/8/2021 corresponds to the 11th of August 2021. Very important, don't get confused, fellow Americans. And then Bachar Sha'a, choose a time. Most post offices will open around 7 o'clock. And as you see here, it's hidden by the Zoom bar, at least on my computer, but just know it starts at 7. And you can choose all the way down to 5:42. A lot of options here. And you'll see each of them are in increments of 6 minutes. Don't assume, we'll get to what happens when you actually make an appointment in a minute. But let's say we pick 11 o'clock. Okay, so 2 days from now, Wednesday at 11 a.m. is when I'm picking to go to the Snifa Doar by me, Mikveh Israel Sheva. I'm going to press Hamshech. הקלד את מספר טלפון הסלולרי, עמו יתבצע הזיהוי בסניף הדואר. Okay, let's break this down. הקלד מספר טלפון הסלולרי. Well, first off, I hear the words telephone and the word celulari. Both of those are clearly English or international jargon. Telephone, telephone, celulari, cellular. Okay, so cellular phone. I know this has something to do with that. Hakled mispar. Hakled means to type. It comes from the verb to type, lahaklid. Hakled is the command form. So hakled, type. Mem samech geresh, apostrophe. We talked about apostrophes in last week's session, right? Mem samech geresh, which is geresh is the word for apostrophe, is another great abbreviation. This one stands for mispar. So type in the number of your cell phone, and then it says in parentheses, imo yitbatsa hazihui besnif hadoar. Okay, let's translate this together. First off, snif hadoar we already know, right? Your post office, the branch of the mail you're going to. Imo is the same as ito. It means with which or to which. It comes from the verb, it comes from the preposition im, which means with. And it's adding the possessive suffix indicating it's referring to something. So with him, but because mispal is male, so it's saying with which, right? It's referring back to the number. Mispal, male, with which, imo, yitbatsa hazihui. Yitbatsa is from the verb lehitbatsea, which is to be completed or to be executed or to be done. Okay, levatsea is to execute. To execute as in to do something, to perform something. Okay, yitbatsa is the intransitive form, so it's to be completed, to be performed. So with which, meaning mispar telefon celulare, imo yitbatsa hazihui besnif hadoar, with which the identification will be completed or will be executed at the post office. What does this mean? You type in your phone number, and when you get to the post office, you're going to see a stand. And to identify yourself and the appointment that you have, you're going to type in your phone number or whatever phone number you use to make this appointment. So I typed in my phone number. Please don't copy my phone number. Please don't call me with questions. They're just there for illustration purposes. And in the video that will be going up on YouTube, if you're seeing this now on YouTube, you should not be seeing my number. If so, nefesh b'nefesh, let's talk. Anyways, on the right-hand side, it says mispal telefon celulari. We just said that again, right? Your cellular phone number. And it says on the left-hand side, hakled shenit letzorech imut. Okay, hakled shenit, hakled we just said was type. Shenit comes from the same root as shnaim or shnei, which means two. Litzorech imut. Okay, all it's saying here is type in your phone number again. Shenit, as in twice, two. Litzorech, for the need of imut. Imut has the same root as emet, truth, right? So type in your number again for verification. Okay, so you're typing in your number once and then typing it again just to make sure you're not a robot. And then you're going to press Hamshech. Okay, and now you see that I have an appointment. And it says here, Zimun Tol Mikveh Yisrael at the top. First off, the bar is complete. It's all four are read, so you know that it's all been done. It says here, Pegishatcha, it's referring to me, so it's masculine. Cha means masculine at the end of a word for a possessive suffix. Pegishatcha nikbe'a behatzlacha. Your meeting, your appointment, nikbe'a has been fixed, has been scheduled, behatzlacha, successfully. Right? Anytime you withdraw money from a ATM here in Israel or anything else, it'll tell you that you've done it successfully. Behatzlacha. Behatzlacha can also mean good luck, but it also means successfully. Okay, and it's telling me when my appointment is. Snif, branch, right? Snif Mikveh Yisrael, that's the name of the branch I'm supposed to go to. The service, Sherut, Eshnav Kol, right? The teller window I'm going to. Ta'arich, the date, the 11th of August, 2021. Sha'a, the time, the hour, my schedule of my meeting, 11 o'clock. Okay, and now it says here on the bottom, Anu mitzapim lehagatcha lesnif. Okay, Anu, let me Let's highlight that for you here, right? Anu mitzapim lahagatcha lasnif. Anu is short for anachnu. It's a very fancy way to say anachnu, meaning we. Mitzapim, expect. Lehagatcha. This is very formal Hebrew. Okay, you're not normally going to speak like this, except in a very formal setting, like an office, like in a legal setting. And here they're showing a lot of deference to you, the consumer, the customer. Anu mitzapim, we expect. Lehagatcha, we are looking forward to your arrival. Lehagatcha is referring to lehagia, to arrive. It's using that verbal noun again, that gerund. Haga'a is arrival. We are looking forward to, or we are expecting your arrival. Lahagatcha. That cha at the end indicates your. Lasnif, to the branch. We are expecting or looking forward to your arrival at the post office. And then we have the next line. Bahagiacha lasnif. Yesh lahaklid et mispar hatelefon be'emdat hatorim. It's doing just what I told you you're going to have to do when you go to the post office with your new appointment, with your toll, right? Bahagiacha begecha lasnif. Upon arriving at the snif, at the branch, yesh lahaklid. We've talked about this several weeks ago in a previous lesson that you can also find on YouTube, right? Yesh plus the infinitive of a verb means one should or one must. Okay, yesh laklid, upon arriving at the post office, yesh laklid. One must type in et mispar hatelefon, one must type in their phone number, be'emdat hatorim, in the appointment stand. Again, you're going to get there. There's going to be a metal stand with a screen. It's going to ask you to type in your phone number, and it's going to give you your number. So it's telling you upon arrival, you need to type in your phone number to that. Okay. And then this last line is very important, and it's the reason why you get an SMS. Hatol yishamer lecha bitvach shel 10 dakot mehasha'a shenikba'a. Okay, let's go through this together. Hatol, your appointment. Yishamer. Yishamer is the future passive form of lishmor. Lishmor means to guard or to keep. Yishamer means will be kept. Okay, your appointment will be kept. Bitvach, for a range. Tvach is a range. Shel, of 10 dakot, of 10 minutes. Mehasha'a shenikba'a, from the time that has been scheduled. What does this mean? My appointment is for what time? 11 o'clock. I can get to the post office between 10:50 and 11:10, and my appointment, yishamel, my appointment will be kept, will be saved. Okay, so I can come to the snif hador early, or like a good Israeli, I will come late to an appointment, up to 10 minutes, and my appointment will still be there. If I come before those 10 minutes, it won't even show up in the system because there'll be plenty of other people there. And if it comes after the 10 minutes, it'll already be given to someone else. Okay, so you have essentially a 20-minute window, right? 10 dakot mehasha'a shenikba'a. You have a range of 10 minutes on either side in order to make your appointment. Shortly before your appointment comes up, you will get an SMS, just like I got an SMS confirming my toll, confirming my appointment. You will get an SMS to the phone number that you put in that says, we confirm your appointment. And then shortly before the appointment, it's going to tell you, just to let you know, you can now come to the post office and pick up your number, right? It's usually about 15 to 20 minutes before your schedule, and it'll say you can now come and pick up and into the snif hador to get your number. A very efficient system, by the way, right? That it comes to your cell phone, it tells you when you're ready to go, and you're able to come to the post office when you need to, right? You don't have to be waiting in the post office for hours on end. Now, it doesn't mean that just because your appointment comes up, you're actually going to be called. It could be within 5 minutes, it could be within 10 minutes, it could be within the moment you get there. The point though is it's giving you a much shorter period of time you need to be indoors and indoors at the post office than you otherwise need to. A very useful service for everyone because again, the post office is a terrible place, objectively. Okay, let's stop here. I see we have several questions in the Q&A to get through. Okay. Jeanette, maybe another English word for Eshnav is wicket. I do not know that word. If that's a non-American English word, that's a brand new one to me. I use the word teller or window, but wicket, if that works for people, great. Just know it's a window within a building, not a window looking outside. What are the usual post office hours? Good question. Depending on where you are in the country, some of them open as early as 7 and close as late as 7. It really depends. Each sneef has a different hour. You'll be able to see it when you go to make an appointment, but usually it's somewhere between 9 to 5 standard business hours, but also usually before and after that. Okay, so very important to look it up. Each one has a different one. Also, depending on the day of the week. Some snifei doar, some branches will not be open on Sundays, and some will not be open on Fridays. That's also important. Ted, can you book an appointment more than 3 days in advance? Usually not, Ted. Some of them may let you, but usually that's not the case. Again, there aren't many reasons to book so far in advance for a post office. Again, you're doing services that are very quick in fashion. They're not like making a doctor's appointment or a bank or a lawyer, anything like that. So usually they don't give you more than 3 days in advance. Again, we're not talking about the most organized place in the state of Israel. So 3 days is already quite advanced for them. Ellen, I tried to follow online with you. When I put in Tel Aviv, only one place came up. Also, I need to pick up my Teudat Zehut. Do I use the first one on the right to make an appointment? What you were showing. If you need to pick up something that's supposed to be at your Snifa Doal, yes, you're going to use that one option that we use, the one on the right-hand side. Okay. Rachel, are there usually long lines waiting at these stands? No, when you're doing the automated stand, when you first enter, it's all you're typing in is your phone number and you get a slip of paper telling you your number in line. There's no need for that line to be particularly long. It may take some time to finally see the Eshnav when your number is called, but otherwise it's all automated. Okay. Anonymous, are there 2 lines, one who made an appointment, one who those who didn't? Yes, still many snifei doar, still many of the post offices allow you to show up without an appointment and to get one on the spot. However, it is not advisable. If you have a cell phone, if you have a smartphone, just do it before you enter the post office. I'm telling you, it will save you, all of you, a lot of headaches to do that. And as a result, you will be placed farther down in line, right? The bias is to give to people who made an appointment in advance. That's why they ask you to do so. If you show up and try to do an appointment on first, on the spot, it will put you at a much lower number in line. So please try to do that in advance. Other questions? Miriam, do you have to ask, sorry, just one second. So I see a lot of people are writing in the chat. I hope you're writing about things not related to today's session in the chat, folks, because remember, there's a lot of you and just me out there, and we have less than 10 minutes. Do you have to have an Israeli number to enter, Miriam? Yes, you do. I believe there probably is a way to do an international number, but best to use an Israeli number. If you don't have an Israeli number and you're picking up something here in Israel, best to use a friend's. Again, we're using this for verification service, right? verification service. So all you're using that for is to sign in when you're at it. So if you don't have an Israeli number and you're going to the post office here in Israel, just use a friend's phone number and then type in that friend's number when you arrive. They'll get the SMS to say that your appointment has been confirmed, but that's it, right? And then you use their number to sign in. That's all you're using that number for, is verification, nothing else. Okay, you're not being asked, by the way, to put in your Teudat Zehut, your national ID number. It's just your phone number. But good question, Miriam. I believe you do have to use Israeli phone number. Again, we're not talking about the smartest, most sophisticated place in Israel. So assume there's a bias against anyone who's not native Israeli there. That includes fellow immigrants. So yes to Israeli numbers. We have a saying in Hebrew called Rosh Katan. We have Rosh Katan and Rosh Gadol. Rosh is a head, like Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Katan, it literally means a small head. It means someone who can't think above and beyond what's written on the piece of paper, or often in the workplace, someone who can't think beyond what is their job description. A Rosh Gadol, on the other hand, is someone who thinks above and beyond, who does above and beyond, who thinks not just outside the box, but thinks creatively, carefully about what could be improved, what could be done. Doar Yisrael, the Israel Post, is Rosh Katan, without exception. It is small-minded. That's the way that we would say it in English, right? Not thinking creatively, doing the bare minimum to get through the day. Okay. Yeshayahu writes in the Q&A, and this is great to know. I personally don't know this, but seniors don't have to wait in line, can jump to the front with a Ptol card. It is important, if you are a senior citizen, there are ways to get ahead of lines. I don't know as much about that. I would refer you to Nefesh B'Nefesh's website, where it has information for seniors. But again, for all of you, please make an appointment in line following the instructions I just gave you. It makes it a lot easier to get to the post office at a reasonable time and to get the service that you need in a also reasonable amount of time. Okay. The website we were just on is israelpost.co.il, israelpost.co.il. Okay. Several people are referring to an app. There's an application and an app for your phone called My Visit. On My Visit, you can do a lot of scheduled meetings for government offices, including apparently the post office. So thank you all who wrote that in the Q&A. That's good to know. If you don't know what My Visit is, it's a great service. But in the meantime, if you just need the post office, israelpost.co.il. Rhonda, you will get 2 messages. The moment you make, Rhonda asked, will I get 1 or 2 messages? After I enter my cell phone number, 1 to confirm an appointment and 1 to say that it is now my turn for service. Upon making an appointment, you will immediately get a confirmation to your cell phone. So on the moment, that's SMS number 1. SMS number 2 will be shortly before your appointment comes up. It'll give you a reminder. It will send you a reminder that you have an appointment at that Snif Ador, at that post office. Please show up appropriately or cancel it. And there'll be a link if you need to cancel it, but you can also just let it go. If you need to cancel, don't worry about it. You can just let the appointment go. You're not fined. You're not penalized in any way. Okay. I see there are a bunch of people who unfortunately did not follow my request and wrote a lot of questions for me to answer in the chat, as opposed to the Q&A. I'm going to give people a few more minutes bias again for the Q&A if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll, in the remaining few minutes, go back to the chat. Okay, any last questions? Okay. All right, let's open up the chat and see what's relevant for us today. Shula asks, what is the Hebrew for israelpost.co.il? Shula, great question. However, there are only a very few websites where the URL, that's the address, are written in Hebrew. The vast majority of websites in Israel are still written in Latin letters. So it's israelpost.co.il. Just go to that and it's Doal Yisrael in Hebrew. Okay. Andre just asked a great question. Andre, next time, please write this in the Q&A so I can see it, because this is a great question to ask. I'm going to share my screen and write this in because it's a very important one, even though very few of us will be needing to do this, is the word for a stamp. Who'd have thunk, right? Bulim. All right, I'll make it big in just a second, folks. Bulim. Okay. The word for stamp in Hebrew is bul. Bul is one stamp, bulim are multiple stamps. Okay. I do not know at the present time what one stamp costs in Israel. I thankfully have not had to go to the post office anytime soon, much less send a regular snail mail. But that is something, again, that mechiron, right? That website that we saw at the beginning of the, sorry, let me just pull that down. If you go back to that page, israelpost.co.il, right? Let me just pull it up here so I can get to it. If you go back to israelpost.co.il at the very beginning of it, remember we said this fourth option is mechiron hadoal, the pricing of mail. This is going to tell you how much something costs. So it's going to tell you, for example, if you needed to do this, mishloach ragil, regular delivery, right? The next one is registered mail. The next one is 24-hour mail. The next one is even faster express mail. But let's say I need to do mishloach ragil, regular mail. Kamut, it'll tell you how many things you need to send. And mishkal, the weight in grams, how heavy it is. And then it will give you how much it costs. Or I should be able to just at the bottom, here at the bottom of that same thing, it tells you all the different prices. And you see here that they fluctuate. These are all PDFs, or not necessarily PDF. Yeah, they're all PDFs, and tells you the different pricing of the post office, right? So one is for businesses that need to send international, one is for internal in Israel, one is for all things. But you also see that the prices change quite regularly. This first one is for April 2021. This next one is for August 2021. The bottom one is from January 2020. The point though is, off the top of my head, I do not know what the cost of one stamp is. It's important to go, if it's important to you, to find out ahead of time how much something costs, is to use that option. When you go to israelpost.co.il, it was that fourth option here, mechiron hadoal, is to see how much things cost based on how you want to send it, right? If that's of a concern to you, you can do that ahead of time, or you simply go, you make an appointment, lizamen tor, and they'll help you at the ashnav, at the service window at the post office. Okay. Okay. So we just said the words for stamps. The word for international, this is a word you can look up on your own, but it's beinleumi. Okay. In general, we try not to go through words that you can easily look up in a dictionary. Stamp is one of them, international is as well, but you're welcome. International stamps, bulim, beinleumim. That'll help you if you need to send something by snail mail. Okay, any last questions? Great. So thank you all for joining. Again, toda rabah. You will get a copy of this recording on YouTube in the next 24 to 48 hours, including the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is shown through the recording. You'll be able to see it. You can take a spreadsheet, you can take a screenshot, you can write down the words. You'll be able to review this as much as you would like on youtube.com through Nefesh B'Nefesh's channel. Again, toda rabah. We will see you all next week for another session, and it will be one session and then 2 more after that, 3 more sessions altogether through the end of August, and then we will be taking a break for the holiday season, for the Chagim. Thank you all so much. If you have any requests for any topics to cover in the future, please write by email, not doel, not regular mail, but email to Nefesh B'Nefesh. We'll be glad to take it into consideration and start scheduling for after the Chagim. Toda rabah, thank you all so much, and lehitraot, see you all very soon. Take care.